What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 608 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk Podcast Hot Tags of the Week. I am your host, as always, minus the past 2 weeks, Tony Mango. And, of course, joining me, as always, the host for the past 2 weeks, Callum Wiggins.
My time is over.
And Robert DeFelice.
That's right, baby, because when you settle for number 2, you're always just there. Hello.
Major thanks to these two guys for holding down the hot tags these past 2 weeks while I was away in Brazil. Got some pictures, ate some good food, got some COVID, got some stories to tell that I should share elsewhere. Some that I probably could, some that I shouldn't. Some good times and everything. So I listened back to as much of those as I could. I didn't have really a strong enough Wi-Fi to be able to watch a lot of TV shows over the course of these past few weeks. So these guys definitely held down the fort on that front and are going to have to fill me in on some of the things that I'm missing out on too. You know, we have the whole SummerSlam build that we got going on. We got NXT Great American Bash coming up on Sunday. That still trying to learn a little bit more information about that going on. And a lot of other hot tags and stuff. So as we go along here, we want you to drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do what you normally do. Tell us what you think, positive or negative, agree or disagree, whatever it is. Hit the like button as well. Make sure that you share this for anybody that wants to listen to this podcast. But double check that you are subscribed to the channel. And of course, if you are clicking on all those other little things you can find on YouTube, then you can click on the thanks button. Toss a little spare change our way. It's kind of the same as acting like the super chat for the live show, which of course, if you don't have your email notification set up, then click on that little bell and make sure that you get those, because when we go live for the NXT Great American Bash post show immediately following the pay-per-view, then you can join us for that and chat live along with the podcast. And if you click the little join button, got access to the same stuff over on the patreon.com/smarkoutmoment tiers, like the Darkcast and the Pick Your Poison tier, and even just the $1 a month one. Now, the Darkcast, we will be coming back around to soon enough to do that hottest heel of the moment, heat of the moment tournament that we were talking about before, that we did a little bit of setup the last time around. So maybe next week we might record that. I don't know. That's next week's already in August, right? Or is that? Yeah.
Next week is already in August. Monday is the 1st.
Monday is the 31st of July. So yeah, we might end up recording that sometime around next Wednesday, Thursday or something, and get into, August still counts, especially because of this fucking heat, man. I don't know what's going on with this global warming shit, but
global boiling.
Yeah, it's insane. I thought that I was like, in a hot pocket just being in Brazil. Then I see that it's just as bad elsewhere and all. But what you shouldn't have like 117 degree weather. That's not.
We're in the age of global boiling. Like, no pun intended. That is a hot tag. Forget about wrestling. Like, we're just dying.
Yeah. Awful.
So exciting.
So let's transition from that and talk about something that I, think is kind of interesting. That we don't have NXT Heatwave going on yet. Still this year, we don't have In Your House going on either. At least we got some AC going on in the house. But we do have the new announcement of NXT's next pay-per-view following Great American Bash, which is going to be No Mercy. It's coming September 30th at the Mechanics Bank Arena in Bakersfield, California. And this definitely reiterates a point that I mentioned. I don't even remember when we had this discussion, but I think that it was around the time that they had announced Fastlane, or it might have been Payback. It's one of the two, where I was saying, I got a feeling that maybe they're bringing back these old pay-per-views because they're running out of trademarks. Like they need to re-up the trademark a little bit. It's a little strange that we've gotten Night of Champions, we're getting Fastlane, we're getting Payback, and now No Mercy too. No Mercy was one of the ones that I brought up where I was like, yeah, don't you want to just bring back No Mercy instead? And I think that might be the case. Or maybe it is just a matter of Triple H really likes these names and he was like, now I have an opportunity to bring them back, and maybe Vince isn't saying no. I don't know. Vince is apparently the reason that we have Big Bronson Reed and Dirty Dominic Mysterio, so he's still in the weeds. But I think that there's more smoke to the fire as far as the heat goes for the idea that maybe they're re-upping these trademarks. And I really like the No Mercy name. It's one of my favorite pay-per-view names that they have. I think that it, kind of has that pro wrestling event feel to its name instead of sounding like, Great Balls of Fire. I like it. I'm glad they're doing this. I miss In Your House. I think Heat Wave works really well, but if you're going to give me No Mercy, then I'm totally on board with that filling in those spots. How do you guys feel?
I like the name. I feel like the new branding is just sort of the evolution of NXT becoming its own show. And they're not doing TakeOver, Bakersfield. It's just, no, we're just a brand now. We're going to do No Mercy because we own the IP. It's fun. It gives a different vibe to these shows. They're letting them do standalone shows, which is interesting. But I feel like they worked better as the 1-2 punch with the main roster that you kind of get for WrestleMania weekend. Yeah, I like the name. No Mercy is a great name. For me, being a child of the Ruthless Aggression era, a lot of fun memories there. Of course, everybody thinks of the game when they think of No Mercy, and I like the name. And Callum will say it's just a name, so let's just move on.
Well, Callum, do you think the game more, or do you think the pay-per-view?
The pay-per-view, because I didn't own the game. So.
Same here. I actually specifically
never played it. So.
I specifically think No Mercy 09 when I think No Mercy.
That's wildly fucking specific.
Yeah.
Also, they did not have a No Mercy in 09.
It wasn't No Mercy 09 the one with Randy Orton and Triple H passing the title around?
That's 07. That is 07.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 09. Huh. Yeah, that's what I think. Apparently, I think it wrong. But the No Mercy branding name, major thumbs up in my perspective. At least, I'm not the biggest fan of the Battleground name I mentioned before, Payback and Fastlane and whatnot. But bringing that back makes me even more so want to keep beating that drum of bring back Breaking Point and Fully Loaded to, play around with some of those older names. I still want King and Queen of the Ring as well, for that matter. That's one.
Correct No Mercy. The correct No Mercy to remember is 2002.
Which one was that?
Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. And also, Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit versus Edge and Rey Mysterio, one of the best tag team matches that I'd seen that had ever been at that.
That's pay-per-view I've not seen. Really good, so if that's one of those that's worth doing a Miss of the Smark in the future, I might have to revisit that one. We do have a Miss of the Smark coming up soon for everybody that's wondering. We haven't done one of them in a little while. It tends to be like we do one of them per year, but we are going to sometime in August. Right now, it's currently tentatively maybe the 9th, maybe the 16th. We're going to do a fan announce table / Miss of the Smark of SummerSlam 1992. Because not only is it going to be post SummerSlam, but it's going to be leading into All In. So the Wembley thing, it's kind of the perfect time to do that. And Callum hasn't seen SummerSlam 92. So all the more reason for us to go back and watch that pay-per-view and revisit those memories. Maybe we'll do it on the 16th. That makes a little bit more sense hitting into All In.
Okay, since we're talking Wembley, can we talk about the report from Fightful Select that Chris Jericho is penciled in as the opponent for Will Ospreay?
Have they had any matches together?
They have not.
No.
So that's cool. I'm down to see that.
Yeah, Callum, how do you feel?
That was a great match to have. Anyone that kidded themselves into thinking they were going to do Ospreay and Omega 3 at Wembley is just completely ignorant to how the booking of those two companies would work. It's a New Japan feud for a New Japan Championship, so it's going to be taking place at a New Japan show if they're going to do the 3P. So it will probably be at Wrestle Kingdom or another big show that New Japan put on sometime in 2024. So I was never anticipating there was going to be Ospreay versus Omega on this show.
That would feel too quick, too. At least from my perspective, that just happened. They haven't built it up because Ospreay's doing G1 right now, so he can't build up another feud right now. Well, let's talk about the G1, since you mentioned it. That, of course, more matches have gone down with that. And, You are far more adept at breaking that down than I am, especially because I don't even know who some of the people are. So what are the updates from this past week?
So as of the latest show, which took place yesterday, the current situation is that the Block A and Block B have had 5 matches out of their 7 initial matches that they're going to have to set up who's going to go into the quarterfinals and the semis and all that stuff. Block C and D have only had 4 matches so far. They are going to be having their 5th match. Well, all their competitors are going to have their 5th match on Sunday. So there's a little bit of a break right now. But as it stands right now in Block A, Sonada, the current world champion, is absolutely dominating Block A. He's got 5 wins out of 5. He's 10 points. So he's pretty much locked in as one of the people that's going to be in the quarterfinals. The rest of Block A is very, very much a lot closer. And it's mainly due to the fact that this is the only, at the moment, it is the only block that's seen any draws at the moment. And they've seen plenty of draws. Got Kaito Kiyomiya in second place, sitting on 6 points with 2 wins, 1 draw, and 2 defeats. The same score as Shota Umino, who's got 2, 1, and 2, so he's on 6 points as well. Then Gabe Kidd is there, 2 wins, 2 draws, 1 defeat. Chase Owens, 2 wins, 3 defeats in 5th place. Then Hikuleo, Yota Tsuji, and Ren Narita. Ren Narita yet to get any victory at all. In Block B, it's pretty much a 2-horse race at the moment between Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada, as you'd expect. They just had their match against each other on Thursday's show, which was excellent, as you'd expect it to be. It was Will Ospreay's first ever clean victory over Okada, which means that he's now leading the pack by virtue of the win over Okada. But Taichi's still in it. He's there on 6 points. Great O'Khan is the first person from Block B to be mathematically eliminated, so he can't qualify at all. The rest of them are all sitting on about 4 points, so they all have a chance of getting through. It's unlikely. It's probably just going to be Ospreay and Okada that go through, but we'll see if one of them manages to break through the pack there. Block C is really, really close. Like the top 3 people are on 6 points, then there's 2 people on 4 points, and then there's 3 people on 2 points. So literally anybody could go through, anybody could get eliminated any point soon. So they've kept that one relatively close. Got David Finlay, Evil, and Tamatonga leading at the moment. Shingo, Takagi, and Eddie Kingston are sitting in the middle. 2 wins, 2 losses. And then you've got Mikey Nichols, Hanare, and Ishii down at the bottom. And then Block D, they've decided to keep Jeff Cobb undefeated so far. He's got 8 points, so four wins straight. Zack Sabre Jr. is following him, 3 wins, 1 defeat. And then you've got a cavalcade of 4-pointers with Hiroki Goto, Tetsuya Naito, Shane Haste, and Hiroshi Tanahashi, with Alex Coughlin. And the first guy to get eliminated from the whole tournament, Toru Yano, who hasn't won yet, is the only person in the entire G1 that's got 0 points right now, which is kind of what. Well, to be fair, Yano actually usually wins matches by this point, but they've decided that his shenanigans aren't working in his matches, so he's suffering defeat after defeat. But he's facing Jeff Cobb next, and so it's the guy that's 4-0 against the guy that's 0-4. So I'm 100% expecting Yano's going to win that one, because that's kind of how Gato books sometimes. But yeah, there've been some really, really fun matches. There's been some matches that you can definitely skip and not get involved in. In terms of the ones that have happened since the last time we spoke about this, I'd say the ones to really look out for are from night 5. I'd go with really only Takagi versus Ishii. And that's only because if you watch New Japan, you know that if those two face each other, it's always going to be good. So yeah, that's definitely a match worth checking out. From night 6, I'd say there's a few good matches on this one. Go Okada and Yoshihashi was pretty good, and then Sonada versus Kiyomiya was a really good match at the end of it. Ospreay versus O'Khan. Oh, that was night 7 actually. So, yeah, so night 6 and then night 7. Night 8. Jeff Cobb versus Zack Sabre Jr. is one of my favourite matches of the tournament so far, so I checked that one out, as well as Ishii versus Kingston, because they're 2 of my favourite guys right now, so it was great to see them again. And Shane Haste versus Tetsuya Naito was surprisingly good. Shane Haste is one of the former members of TM61, so I was surprised that he defeated Naito. And I was just like, well, that's a nice little shock. And then from the most recent one, of course, check out Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada, but then definitely check out as well Kaito Kiyomiya versus Gabe Kidd, because like if you've not seen either of those two before, that's a really, really physical like slugfest between those two, which ends in a double count out because they just kept brawling on the floor for ages and ages and ages. Like in New Japan, they have a 20 count on the floor anyway, but then usually the referee is outside with them for about a minute or two to try and get them back into the ring, and then he goes into the ring and starts the count. So they're literally fighting on the floor for about like 5-6 minutes. That was quite it was a fun match, but yeah, it's going pretty well so far. I think a lot of things are going as I anticipated. The few things that are standing out to me that I wasn't expecting Yota Tsuji to do as badly as he is doing.
Yeah.
I think
you guys were talking originally about watching out for him as like a potential winner even, and some positive stuff for Ren Narita too, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're all part of this new Three Musketeers group, those two and Shota Umino. So they're the ones that have been given quite a lot of focus going into this block A. And realistically, those three, not that any of them are doing badly. Obviously, point-wise, both Tsuji and Narita are doing very badly. But in terms of performances, they're not doing too badly. But they've all kind of been outshone by Kiyomiya, who's the Noah guy, who's come in and just done really, really well. He's had great matches pretty much every time. So the others have been, I would say, hit and miss, but it hasn't been as smooth sailing for them. And Tsuji has only got one victory so far, and that was against Chase Owens. And even though he's higher up in the rankings, pretty much everyone should be beating Chase Owens. So, yeah, it seems a little bit odd how they've positioned him so low down. Same with Narita as well, but I wouldn't. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many points they end up with, but I think it's pretty safe to know those two are going through to the next round. But yeah, I mean, we'll know certainly by not so much by the next hot tags, because I think there'll still be a few matches left to go, but by the next hot tags we should have a pretty clear idea about. Some people will absolutely have been guaranteed going through, and we'll have a clear idea about who's likely to go alongside them. I think the end for this qualifying section before the quarterfinals ends next Tuesday, I think. So there's still a little while to go, and then get into the quarterfinals, then the semi-finals, then there's a big final happening as well, where we'll crown the winner of the G1 Climax. But yeah, at least everything should be wrapped up by the time Ospreay needs to come over to London to do his shows for both Rev Pro and add to All In as well.
Who would you have to say right now, if you had to pick, who do you think's going to end up winning the tournament overall? Sonata?
Oh no, I've never been knocked off my assumption that Naito is going to win the tournament. So I'm sticking with Naito. Until he's mathematically eliminated, I'm saying Naito's winning.
I'm still going with Okada.
There's no chance Sonata wins this tournament.
Even though he's got the
world champion doesn't. Yeah. Well, he's only top of his block. Like, he needs to go into quarterfinals and semi-finals after this. So, and world champions never win the G1.
Well, Okada did before, right?
No, he wasn't world champion when he won it.
Oh.
That's you really should do that once, because I like that idea of for WWE fans
before, but it was
Go ahead.
Yeah, they did it before with I think Chono won it as a champion, but it seems like it's a non-thing to do, because why would Sonata, they've already said that if Sonata wins the world title, wins the G1, then he's going to say that the person fighting him at Wrestle Kingdom is going to be Taichi. And you don't want that as your main event. As much as a fan as I am of Taichi, and I think Taichi's had a very, very good G1 so far, that's not a marquee, like, Wrestle Kingdom main event of Sonata versus Taichi. So someone with a modicum of credibility is going to win this tournament. And the likelihood is going to be it's going to be either Okada or it's going to be Naito, probably.
I forgot about the whole thing you mentioned about Taichi. Yeah.
I like the idea, though. I think they did it with Charlotte Flair in the Rumble. I think they should do it with another world champion one of these days, where it's just like, fuck it, if I win, I get to pick who I'm fighting. and then that's a different way of telling a story.
Worth playing around with. Sometimes you can switch it up a little bit and you find a whole new different type of formula. Sometimes you do it and then it ends up being a mistake, but you never really know unless you try to make that mistake, at least. Well, you don't try to make a mistake, but you know what I mean. Take the risk of that. That's on the G1 side of things. Let's talk about ROH. Talk about Death Before Dishonor. I didn't get a chance to watch a single split second of this. Now, I was not only out and not even around a spot where I could have, but, the Wi-Fi thing on top of that. So all I know about Death Before Dishonor is double checking some news reports and seeing, okay, well, these titles all stayed the same essentially, except for the tag titles. It feels to me, as somebody who's not as tapped into that side of pro wrestling as much, and somebody who didn't watch it, it kind of gives me the feeling that maybe I didn't miss anything, because I haven't heard anybody talk about any matches. It's like, yeah, but you know what? That Athena and Willow Nightingale match was really good, or, anything. I haven't seen any chatter whatsoever. Could just be completely ignorant of it. Maybe it's happening in a different space. But how did you guys approach this? What did you like? What did you dislike? What's your breakdown?
So the thing with Ring of Honor is you wouldn't like it anyway, because it's guy versus guy equals match. And even the people who do like that are starting to criticize that that's all it is.
Mm-hmm. Because what was the breakdown of, why is Pac fighting Claudio? I know that, Eddie Kingston...
You didn't watch Blood and Guts, so you wouldn't know that.
I missed Blood and Guts, yeah. So that was... Blood and Guts happened before Death Before Dishonor, right?
Yeah, happened on the Wednesday before it, yeah.
Okay, so what happened during Blood and Guts that... Did they, bump into each other, and then it ended up being that they announced that afterward?
Well, essentially through the entirety of the match. So Claudio's the guy that starts off Blood and Guts against Kenny Omega. And so Pac's the next guy in. And pretty much from that point on, it's not like it's super apparent, but they have a few miscommunications where they bump into each other occasionally, or they get in each other's way, or one accidentally hits the other one because they're trying to hit someone else. And so they're gradually getting more and more pissed off at each other. And then it gets to a point towards the end of the match where Pac gets one more shot from Claudio, an unintentional shot from Claudio, and it says, "Oh, fuck it, this isn't worth it." He gets in his face and then says, "Yeah, fuck it, don't care about this enough anymore," and he walks out of the match.
What was the reasoning for why he joined the Blackpool Combat Club side of it to begin with?
Because he hates Kenny Omega.
Because the Elite hurt him in their best of 7. I was shocked during that match when they were like, "It's been 7 months since we've seen it." I didn't even put that together.
7 months since Pac's been there?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, he his final match was in January, because that was when they did the best of 7 thing.
Good Lord, I don't like that we're that far deep into 2023 already.
Yep.
Fuck.
I did that exact thing, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And that match was good. It led to a lot of shenanigans that, spoiler alert, had a shit ton of follow-up on Dynamite, but had 0 follow-up on the actual Ring of Honor product. My overall issue with the product in Ring of Honor right now is it might as well just be dark. And that's not okay. Athena is the only solid thing about that show. And they're trying and they're doing some fun things, but there's not enough to go, "Oh man, I'm really invested in Ring of Honor as a standalone product." I will say the Dark Order had the best match they've had in years against the Righteous. That was a great fight without honor. Do you agree, Cal?
Well, yeah, I mean, just as a round-off thing, Rob's completely right in the fact that the product does feel cold because it's not being, not enough stories are being booked alongside the matches. But I would then also pair it on by saying that this is one of my favourite shows the whole year so far.
Just as far as bell-to-bell action?
Yeah, I thought pretty much every match delivered. I thought most of them were good to great. Just from top down, I don't think there was a single bad or I won't say forgettable, but just meh thing that happened on this entire show. I thought pretty much everything was a thumbs up. and leading into the back end of things were 2 thumbs up, because the final 4 matches, and I'd say the final 4 matches and the 4-way tag team match were like the big highlights for me. But I'd say I was a huge fan of this entire show, and it kind of pains me to say, because it almost feels like I'm justifying them not putting any effort into their things, because they'll put together a card like this and I'll just go, yeah, it was fucking great, and I really enjoyed myself. But yeah, I kind of hope they do put more effort into things, but I can't deny the fact that this was a top-notch show.
It's been a terrible plague in wrestling for like the last 4 years, where it's like, all right, things aren't great, but damn, that show they built to was a lot of fun, so we'll keep going.
I mean, yeah, and it's not even just like an AEW or an ROH thing. It's happened in WWE for, the past however many. Going back to
survives.
Yeah. It's just the thing that they go, these people are good. They'll have a good match, so you don't need to waste any time watching the TV, which, by the way, I got to say, because this is the first time I was essentially forced to not watch stuff. I mean, there's been plenty of months where it's like, all right, I'm not really paying super duper close attention to SmackDown, or, I'm going to skip watching this match on Raw and go wash the dishes because it's more fucking entertaining, and then I'll just overhear who wins, like that kind of thing. But as far as the idea that we talked about plenty of times before of like being rewarded by not watching, I'm curious how that's going to play into SummerSlam and Great American Bash, because right now I feel partially rejuvenated with that. Like I'm interested to watch SmackDown tonight. I don't even know what they have scheduled for it, but I totally bypassed the invitational stuff for the United States Championship, and now I'm just sort of like, oh, are they going with Escobar? Oh, that's kind of neat. As opposed to going, all right, I spent the last 3 weeks analyzing this, and now I keep talking about why is LA Knight not involved, and you know what I mean? So maybe that's still a thing going on of just like, you're better off watching the pay-per-views because the match is going to be great, and then you don't need to be invested in it whatsoever. But then when you start getting into the stuff that we talk about, where a lot of it's the story and why are they going in this direction and all, ROH sounds like it's still hitting that mark of, okay, guy against guy could be good. If it's not great, I'll probably write it off as I didn't need to watch it. You know what I mean? So I think we'll know.
Get into some stuff in a little bit with WWE where that will really benefit you. I think that you didn't have to sit through it.
Is that the case with like Blood and Guts? Is it something where I should really go back and check it out, or is it just sort of, it was a match and here's the story that came out of it, but you're not really missing anything?
If you like that style of match and you like the individuals involved, you will think it's one of the best things they could have possibly done. If you don't like that style of match, or if these aren't your absolute favorite wrestlers, you could probably skip it. Is that fair, Kellen?
I'd say that it's in the top 10 matches that AEW have done this year for me, but it certainly isn't in the top 5. Like, yeah, it was fun, and there was some very unique weaponry and things that they used in this. So I think that it does have value, and it does have some interesting spots, but it's not 100% must see unless you're really into the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club. So
any potential like greatest spot of the year type moments?
I mean, they brought out a bed of nails.
Yeah, that was the one that I think was most interesting.
So it's probably the spot where, I mean, there's a couple of spots that stick out. So there's bringing out the bed of nails, and then either whipping Kenny Omega into it, or then Kota Ibushi doing a moonsault to Jon Moxley laying on the bed of nails. It was pretty.
By the way, don't worry, Boston still preferred tables over all of that.
Yeah, they wanted tables, and then they wanted fire, and they got the table at the very least, which is another spot of Pac swinging off the top of the cage and then doing a double foot stop through a table through Matt Jackson. So that was again pretty cool looking spot. Yeah, other than that, I mean, basically everyone took bumps on either tacks or glass or both. So, so yeah, it depends if you're into that kind of additional weaponry. But I thought the finish was good as well because even though shoddy camera work, which is something that sometimes plagues AEW finishes. So what happened is that they got towards the end of the match. So he said Pac walked out because he was tired of getting accidentally hit by Claudio. And then Don Callis kind of saw the writing on the wall and decided to get Takeshita out of the match as well. So just ran down, grabbed Takeshita. Well, didn't get in the ring, but just talked Takeshita out. Takeshita left, so just left with the 3 BCC guys against all of the Elite. And they end it by choking Wheeler out with a chain. And Moxley surrenders on behalf of Yuta to make sure that he doesn't, die from being choked out by a chain. So yeah, that was the way. So the Elite win as expected, and as is apparent by the latest episode of Dynamite, BCC are moving on to something else, and the Elite weren't even around, so we have no idea what they're doing next.
So I want to talk about that to some degree because I think since the Brawl Out incident last year, it really feels like even with the 9 months he missed, Punk was able to come back and just be doing his thing, where the Elite are still, I feel like, coming across as a special attraction more than anything at this point. And like every time they've done something, like they did the best of 7, and then that just sort of ended, and then it became like, okay, they're entering this special feud with the BCC, but even that just sort of ends now. And how is there no follow-up whatsoever? How is there no, promo that says, hey, what's next? I don't know, maybe we go win some championships again. Just nothing from the Elite. I didn't like that.
I don't know why it has to be immediate. I don't know why you can't take a week off and then come back next week and say all this stuff.
I just feel like there should have been...
Isn't there always a thing where people say about AEW that they have too many wrestlers and they don't put enough of them on TV, and then when they do put some of those other people on TV, say, hey, where are these guys that we were always on TV? Why are they not on TV? It's always people complaining about stuff that they have no idea about how to fix.
Granted, I give you that, but I don't really care for the other wrestlers. I want to see the Elite in AEW while they got them, and I would have liked some follow-up here.
Well, as far by the reports say, they've got them for quite a while. At least all the reports say.
So that's one thing for us to talk about. I never really bought into this idea to begin with, but for a little while now, it's been going around that supposedly WWE thought that they could get Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and sign them to new contracts in 2024 and all that. And now that it's leaning more towards, well, that's probably not going to happen. I didn't think that there was any chance that they were going to switch over.
I mean, first of all, I didn't actually put too much credence into the thought of them switching over as well. And secondly, WWE's in a hiring freeze. The merger's still happening. They can't hire anybody. They're certainly not. If they're not going to, as we'll talk about in a little while, if they're not going to stump up money for Rouge, they're certainly not going to stump up even more money to get the Elite, all members of the Elite over. So yeah, I think that I think it's pretty obvious that they're going to stick around for a while to come. And as I said, like Punk's been back for a bit. There's been no issues that we know of. They seem to be doing a good job of keeping them separated if there is still that issue between them. So yeah, I don't see any reason why they would leave.
Now, with the Rouge thing, you can make an argument that maybe they would make an exception for Omega and the Bucks because they are such a big part of AEW that it would be like, hey, it's worth taking them away and taking that as like a shot against the competition and all. But with Rouge, he's just another guy. Now, Rouge is talented and all. I don't want that to come off as me being like, oh, he's a fucking job or anything. But COVID coming back. But
you say bad things about Rouge and you cough. See that?
I'm rushing to judgment there. But the idea of like, okay, well, he would just be another addition to the roster, probably put into the NXT system, if we're being perfectly honest. At most, they would do what they're doing with like Dragon Lee and stuff with Rouge. Omega and the Bucks, they probably would just put them straight to the main roster. And they are at a higher tier, so there might be a chance that they would be willing to hire them despite the hiring freeze, but it still just makes it a much more difficult scenario. And if they're trying not to spend money and they're not hiring people as much as it is, that's a major block. And then you add on top of that, they are still 3 of the main people that started this fucking company. It's crazy enough that Cody Rhodes is out of the company. For WWE to think that they could get every member of the Elite and just bring them over, I think either they didn't really think that and they were just like, yeah, let's see what we can do, and whatever happens, or they've got this hyperbolic idea that's like way out of realistic perspective. So Roosh re-signing, not at all surprising to me. The Elite potentially re-signing, that's exactly what I'm expecting to happen.
Yeah, I just want to put this out there that not everybody's dream was to be WWE champion. With Cody, it was, but you're not going to get the Young Bucks. I don't think they would have ever gotten the. I can see more of an argument for Kenny if Kenny just goes, you know what? I want to do WrestleMania. The Young Bucks know that unless your names are Jimmy and Jey Uso, you're probably not headlining WrestleMania as a tag team.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought that they would go. I thought, if anything, they would just retire, They've done way more in wrestling than they ever expected to.
And sometimes it's better to be one of the people that gets talked about as, man, what if? Rather than going there, crossing it off the list, and then being like, didn't work out. Look at Sting. What Sting did at WWE basically doesn't matter. If you get rid of his WWE tenure, nothing in the world changes. But he still has that vibe of like, man, if they would have had Sting back in the day, that would have been crazy. Sometimes maybe, a Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks or somebody, like maybe they might want to be in that discussion more than anything else. I don't blame them if that's the case. So I would be incredibly shocked if we got anything close to them coming to WWE. Years ago, before AEW, yeah. Then totally. I can understand why that whole report went down, but no. Roosh re-signing as well, not at all surprised.
By the way, CM Punk called him a collider, so he'll probably be helping Andrade win the ladder match on Saturday.
That's Andrade against Buddy, right?
Yep.
Because we know that they work really well together, so that should be fun.
Be great.
Let's see what else we got going on here as far as some things to bounce around with. It's completely unrelated, but what the hell? Let's mention it. Vince McMahon underwent some spinal surgery. And
Sean Ross Sapp reported this on Twitter, saying that Vince McMahon underwent major spinal surgery and that he's recovering.
The surgery apparently lasted 5 hours. Oof.
That's concerning. I wonder why Vince needed major spinal surgery. I mean, he's getting up in age and he spent the latter half of his life taking bumps and taking all these things.
Yeah, he didn't start taking bumps until way past when you shouldn't take bumps to begin with.
52.
Right, yeah. He was like, wait, how old was he when he was like first in that Austin feud? He would have been
pretty sure like late 50s.
Mid 40s or something at the very earliest. So yeah, the bump card isn't just for the active pro wrestlers. It's for anybody that does that kind of stuff. I mean, you can tear something, you can pull a muscle, you can do all sorts of. My fucking back hurts like crazy. I can't stand up for too long without my back hurting, and I never took a bump in my life. So maybe it's something along to just like a regular medical issue. Maybe it's something based off of him being in the ring or something. As far as I'm aware, that's the only thing that I can find online about this as far as information, just this report from SRS. But we might find out more information down the line. I think that that's probably not going to change him getting involved whatsoever. He'll probably still just be, talking over the phone and giving ideas of how to change things at the last minute and all. Yeah, let's go with another one here. This is completely outside of the TV talk, but yeah, we'll save some of those things. Samoa Joe has been into some different Hollywood projects over time. He voices King Shark in that forever delayed Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League video game that was supposed to come out like 2 years ago, and it's not going to come out for like another 2 years or something.
In February, I think.
That's the current release date, maybe. No, they keep changing it. The Twisted Metal TV show, though, on Peacock is out now, and they actually dumped all of the episodes, which is fun. So I watched the first 2, and I put up a little review on eWrestling News. You could go check that out, but I'll give you the long and short of it. I'll give my first impressions, but did you guys check out any of it?
Did not, unfortunately. It's at least on my list of things to watch.
No. Well, I'm not going to watch it. I don't care about this sort of stuff. I want my wrestlers to be on my wrestling show. I don't care about them doing other projects.
Well, you are a video gamer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm a video. Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna. Well, from what I've heard about this Justice League versus or Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, I'm definitely not buying that. That looks like it's gonna be dog shit.
Really?
I'll say this: it's very unfortunate that it looks like it's gonna be dog shit because it's Kevin Conroy's last time as Batman. And I'll go a step further and say it might even be canceled if it wasn't Kevin Conroy's last time as Batman.
Is it really looking all that bad? The last thing I had seen was like a trailer for it months ago, and it sounded like an interesting idea.
Service thing, and that's just, it doesn't work. They did it with the Avengers game. They did it with doing live service things for all these games. And why? They're one-player experiences. What do you need an online connection to play these games for?
What do you mean live service game?
Like that it'll be frequently updated instead of just, releasing a full game.
Oh, like GTA Online?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just because it's the current, the vogue of video game developers nowadays. Is the case like you put out a game that's about 70% ready and then you just patch it over time.
Yeah.
In order to make sure you hit deadlines, because it's probably already being a huge money loss for the company. I imagine quite a few heads are going to roll off the back of it anyway. But yeah, I'm certainly not going to waste my money on a thing that's been in developmental hell for the last what it seemed like it was going to come out months and months ago, as you said, and now it's been pushed back to at least or the earliest February. Just I don't think I want to tie myself to that unless I hear a lot of reports saying it's actually pretty fun. But until I hear the otherwise, and I don't expect I will, I'm certainly not going to touch that with a barge pole.
Well, have you ever played Twisted Metal?
I don't even know what it is.
Really?
Oh, it's a car combat game. It's actually it was really popular on PS1, PS2.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty fun. I'm surprised that it's getting a series today, but I think that speaks to the brand. And I actually heard it's pretty good. So
that, the games, there's about, I think, 7 games. I've only played really the second game. And I used to play that quite a bit back in the day. That was a PlayStation 1 game. It's a fun game that you tended to play a lot during the charity marathons that we did for Fanboys and Days Man Show. So it's basically what if Cars mixed with Mortal Kombat kind of.
Callum?
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, I played that plenty of times.
That's what Crush Hour was based on.
Oh, okay. It doesn't sound like as much things. Crush Hour's not good.
Never played that game, but it's probably not as good as Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal's fun. And it's the type of thing that if you are in that time frame, that was, the graphics at the time were oh, this is fucking rad. And then, of course, nowadays you look back and you're like, God, this is awful. But it was basically Mad Max and Mortal Kombat mixed together and all. And there's no real story, even though people are going to go, yes, there is. There's Calypso and it's a whole thing about whatever. But you know how those games are back then. It's the bare bones of a story and then smashy. So they were going to make movies about it. I've heard about for the longest time, way past 10 years ago, being oh, there's going to be a Twisted Metal movie and all. For them to do a show based off of it, I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. But I watched the first 2 episodes. Samoa Joe plays Sweet Tooth. Now, For anybody who's not totally aware with Twisted Metal, Sweet Tooth is like the iconic character from it. It's a serial killer with an ice cream truck. He's a clown. I don't remember exactly what his backstory is. I'm pretty sure that he like murders his whole family or something, and he's just like absolutely terrible. So that's who Samoa Joe plays, but not really. So he plays the physical role of Sweet Tooth, and they dubbed him over with Will Arnett. So knowing that, I'll spoil this. The first episode, Sweet Tooth only pops up in like 2 shots. The second episode, he's the main driving point. No pun intended. I haven't seen episodes 3 through, I don't know if it's 6 episodes or 10 or something. So I don't know how much he's in those, but it feels pretty jarring to see like the body of Samoa Joe with a clown mask and the voice of Will Arnett not syncing up correctly. And I am not surprised to say it, but it's not all that great. It's very much like, I think the way that I phrased it in the article was somebody saw a few Ryan Reynolds movies and said, why don't we do the quippy thing? But they don't know how to actually write jokes. So again, spoilers. I don't think it's particularly, oh my God, fucking hilarious that Sweet Tooth is like, man, I really like the thong song from Cisco. That seems more like somebody was like, wouldn't it be funny if, and that's the joke. Every character just is quippy. It loses its tone mid-scene, back and forth between like, we're going to joke about people dying and then I'm going to look sad and go, yeah, I miss my brother, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? That's what's plaguing this already. I might check out the rest of it, but I got a feeling.
I think once it gets into the really like, I assume you got to wait a little bit until you get into the just complete destruction of it all. And I would assume that's where the show picks up.
Maybe, but the action so far hasn't even caught my eye. Didn't seem like it was all that crazy fun. So I'm wondering if maybe the budget's not particularly great either, and maybe they blew their load in the first action sequence. So far, I'm not impressed. And I think that if you're a fan of the Twisted Metal series, you might be interested just for the sake of seeing an adaptation. But look, some adaptations suck. Have you seen Double Dragon? Have you seen the first Mario Brothers movie, etc.?
We did. FanboysAnonymous.com.
That's right. We did do that.
Watch along.
Might have to go back and do a Double Dragon one just because that movie was god-awful garbage too. But I think that it's a thumbs down so far. Samoa Joe's physical part of it, from that, I couldn't even tell you that it's Samoa Joe. So for anybody that's wondering if like he has a really good performance, I don't know why they didn't just keep his voice, to be honest. He's got a good voice and he's doing voice acting work and stuff anyway, so why not?
And he's quippy.
Yeah, I think he could have pulled it off.
Being quippy.
And Will Arnett's voice doesn't sound like it fits him all that well anyway, so I don't know.
There are characters called Wendy.
Joe go back and dub BoJack Horseman? Yeah, would that work?
There's not a Wendy character. There's an Evelyn.
Evelyn.
Yeah, he, I think, could have done better if it was just him, maybe. I don't even know if they're going to end up showing his face. They might end up not even bothering with that. They might just keep the mask on him the whole time. But this isn't what I pictured the show was going to be. And I didn't think it was going to be the most fantastic thing in the world, to be honest, anyway. But I did think that it was going to be a little bit more serious and more like kind of horror. And instead, I get the feeling that this is like the movie Crank or something where you're just like, all right, you want dumb action and we're not going to give you the best action. We're not going to give you the best jokes, but we're going to give you that vibe and say it's good enough. It's not quite good enough for me.
Would have been better if it was animated?
No, I think they would have done the same thing. I think that would have been, it would have pulled them into that, like those Mortal Kombat movies that we've seen a couple of, where they kind of want to try to be like a rated R comedic, hey, the character said fuck, so that makes us fun. You know, we're going to make jokes about stuff that's going to put us into the rated R side of it because it's just going to be like, wouldn't it be funny if blah, blah, blah. Low hanging fruit type jokes too. And yeah, surprised that there's as many like big names attached to it too. Like main characters is played by Anthony Mackie, who's Falcon or the new Captain America in those movies. Nev Campbell's in this. Thomas Hayden Church is in this. Stephanie Beatriz is the female lead. So it's got some names to it, and it's got some value to it. It's not complete garbage or anything, but I would say it's a thumbs down. Maybe I'll end up watching the rest of it. I don't know. I'll let you know if I do. But those are some of those outsider things. Let's talk about some WWE related things. Let's talk about the Cody Rhodes, Chris Van Vliet interview. I checked out a couple little news snippets of this. Didn't watch it. I know Cody was saying that he was not checking out the responses from WrestleMania and a couple little things here and there. What are some other little tidbits that were interesting?
So a lot of the focus was because Cody did a bunch of these. He did a red carpet. Shawn got to interview him. A lot of people got to speak to Cody. I think for Van Vliet, he talked about Vince, going to meet him. And a lot of people opened up about that as well, where like Cardona said, once he found out about that, it was like, oh man, you have to go. Vince doesn't do that for anybody, especially now. The Cody stuff that you're referring to with the online stuff is after he lost to Roman, they said, hey, don't go online. And he was like, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that, but it's nice to know that people are upset. Now, I saw a lot of people saying, well, that's stupid. Why would they tell him not to go online? People weren't upset at Cody. But it's like, I think they said don't go online as a way to say, hey, this is going to hurt even more if you realize that not only are you hurting, but like a lot of people are upset about this. I don't know.
I wonder why they did that. It's annoying that they're like, yeah, this is really going to piss people off. Let's do it.
What do you guys think? Like, do you think that Cody, if he would have seen the online response, that he would have been a bit more combative? Like, you see, we did the wrong thing? Or do you think he just would have done exactly what he did and has kind of just towed the line and been like, yeah, it sucked, but don't you worry, I'm going to finish that story?
Yep. I think that obviously he doesn't have the pull to be able, I don't know if he even agreed to do this. Maybe he is one of the ones that's like, oh, it'd be better if we do the Rocky story where I lose and then I have to win the second time around. But I could see it being exactly how it played out, except for his post-loss promo includes a couple more references to, I know you're all upset, and pretty much just that.
I like the fact that in the interview with Shawn, he spoke about the Elite. He talked about how they are still close. The Elite personally okayed BTE footage being in the documentary that'll debut on Monday, which is nice to see. And we're going to get to see, the Bucks and Kenny and Hanger on Peacock with the WWE stuff. And I'm looking forward to the documentary overall. I think it'd be a lot better if there was an ending point where Cody wins the belt. But, say la vie.
There was stuff about him doing an exit interview promo from AEW.
Well, that's the one where he's like, and they told me not to come out here and say this, but I'm just going to say it. I did everything CM Punk said he was going to do when he sat up on that stage. And he says that he told CM Punk what he was going to say. And Punk was, kind of cool with it because there were some people who just thought he wouldn't leave. And he was just like, yeah, I didn't even, there was no real big exit. The last thing he did in AEW was agent a match between Ruby and Nyla. And he's just like, yeah, and I left and I realized I think that was it. And then I had people get my stuff and I was out. you're never going to hear anything about like the drama, if there was any, or anything like that. I think there's probably some provisions in play there, but overall, he just sounds really happy to be doing the WWE thing as opposed to the AEW thing. But he always beats the drum of, I'm really glad that I was able to create an avenue for the boys and the girls to make money.
That's good because that means that there's like, it's one thing if somebody hops over to a different company because they're all bitter. Seems like he just more so was like, well, I accomplished what I needed to do, and now I'm back on track. That's the healthiest way that it could possibly go.
I do have a question. Why the fuck is Hulk Hogan in this interview, in this documentary? What does Hulk Hogan have to do with Cody Rhodes? Why is he there? I don't usually get mad at the talking heads that they pick for these things, but like, why is he in this thing? He's nothing to do with Cody.
Now I'm curious. Now I want to check that out for sure. When's that come out?
Yeah, it comes out on Monday on Peacock. I definitely will be watching it. And maybe we could even do like a Darkcast or something where we just like, yeah, that was pretty interesting, and we comment on the thing as it goes.
Yeah, we might end up doing that. Depends on what we're up to. It depends on how much I got going on with all this nonsense. So that was one thing that happened recently. There's also the Shawn Michaels media call where he talked about some stuff about NXT, and the main thing that I had seen, which I, again, didn't get a chance to check it out yet, but I've been trying to pay attention to some news snippets, was that he effectively was like, yeah, we're keeping Carmelo around as like a major focal point that can head up that division, and where we really don't want to send him up to the main roster anytime soon. But reiterating, of course, we all know that Carmelo Hayes is going to be a big star, or at least that they want to position him in that. I mean, who knows if he's going to, play out that way. But, some kind of ideas of some stuff here and there. I think this might have been the thing that I had seen where they said that they still have plans to keep Von Wagner and Zion Quinn in NXT, right? Where it's just like, yeah, that basically doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, and that's the whole point of the free agent thing anyway, where they're just like, yeah, we can call them up at any point, but really, we're probably just going to keep him in NXT. He also spoke about, how he's wanted Dom in NXT for a while because he knows Dom was just thrown to the deep end of the main roster, and he enjoys having Judgment Day there. He beat the drum for the 1,000th time about how we love the synergy, and I want Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to have a run here, and a lot of baseline stuff. He did mention that Wendy Chu is still injured, and she's still working through injuries. He mentioned that he and Triple H like the manager aspect of wrestling, and that's why they enjoy having Robert Stone around. Or I guess Mr. Stone. He called him Robert Stone.
That's what it should be. I mean, they know full well that managers can be really useful. How many people over the years have been made because they were standing next to Bobby Heenan or something,
Yeah, I mean, you would have to put some work in to Stone to have it be that way, where it's like, bam, you're made because you're standing next.
Yeah. I mean, you compare him to Paul Heyman or somebody, it's not quite.
It's funny, they actually said, Sean compares him to Bobby Heenan here. He says, Hunter mentioned he reminds me of Bobby Heenan. He can do so many different things. That's a tall order. Heenan's one of the greatest managers of all time, but it's because Bobby could do anything. He could transition to anything you asked him to do. Robert's the same way. When you have that much going for you, he's someone I would always like to have around. He's one of those guys where in case of an emergency, you break glass and he can fill it. I mean, that's high praise coming from Shawn Michaels. And the Carmelo stuff is more of like what they said about Braun for the last several times, where it's just, yeah, we're going to keep him. We're going to make sure he's good to go, and then wrap him up in a bow and send him off.
Yeah. Which is good, because that means that there's actually like a game plan in mind, or at least it seems like there's a game plan in mind, instead of it just being them being like, all right, well, you know, let's send them up when we have nothing for them and sink or swim on the main roster. I'd rather them wait for certain people. Some people you do need to just sort of shit or get off the pot with, and doesn't work out.
Be on main event.
It doesn't work out for everybody. Some people end up being like an Alexa Bliss, who ends up getting the championship pretty soon and way better off on the main roster. And then some people end up like Aaliyah, who has she been cleared for like a year at this point? Like,
while you were away, she sent out a Twitter poll that said, "Hey, do you guys think I'll be back on TV before the anniversary of my last match or not?"
Jeez. That sucks. I hope that whatever's going on with her, that gets all sorted out, or that they just say, fuck it, if we don't want to have it to do anything with you, then we just let you go, you know? At least then she could maybe go to Impact or something. But those are the report things on the news side that I've got, other than to get into like some of the TV talk and talk about like the injuries and the way that they did that. Anything else I'm missing out? I do have a note here of Tony catches up on things he's missed the past 2 weeks, so I don't know if I'm missing something else.
We didn't talk about Chris Hero being full-time producer in AEW now. Good for
he's
him.
Like true. Like, and also Orange Cassidy's a producer now too, right?
Yeah, they said Sean reported that he's been doing some work behind the scenes as well, which is good.
Makes sense. The guy knows how to put a match together, that's for sure.
And I'm glad Hero's got like a full-time gig in wrestling, and I love that like AEW is just the 20 years ago independent scene in a lot of ways. That's fun. I'm glad to see Cassidy's doing more, because unfortunately he is skewing older on that roster, so it's nice to see him get into the other aspect of the industry. Any thoughts on that in particular, Cal?
Just some good signings. It's good to have a guy who has the experience and the capabilities, Chris Hero, pitching in any capacity, and it always just lends a little bit to a one-off match with him and Claudio teaming up together, so you can always have that hope if he does ever want to step back into the ring. And then, yeah, Cassidy is doing such an excellent job. I think that he's probably merited getting, not to say like job for life, but, you know, he should have a solid career post the in-ring stuff. So it's good to see he's getting in the ground floor on that.
All right, so now let's start getting into some TV stuff. I, of course, am not going to go back, and we're not going to talk about the things you guys already talked about in the past 2 episodes or whatever, but to reference what's been going on for what I've seen, I missed the episode of NXT from the 11th. I missed the episode of NXT the 18th and the 25th. All episodes of NXT from these past 3 weeks. I missed all 3 episodes of Dynamite. I missed all episodes of Collision. I missed all episodes of SmackDown. I missed all episodes of Raw except for the 10th. And I did finally watch Dynamite last night. It was the first one that I actually could like put on in the background and all. So I have 1 episode of Dynamite in from the past 3 weeks worth of stuff. So some of these things were totally surprised for me to see that like Dominic Mysterio had won the North American Championship, that the women's tag titles had changed hands, and that Liv Morgan was written off with some kind of an injury angle with Rhea Ripley. Kevin Owens is out now. He's got broken ribs, which seem to be a reality. And I don't know if I'm getting my wires crossed or what, but I had seen reports that said he's injured, it's real, but it's not going to change their plans for SummerSlam. And then now I'm seeing more of, yeah, he's out for SummerSlam, and that's not going to happen. Clarify a little bit that for me. What was this something that it seemed like they were going to do a tag title match, and it was like, oh, at the last minute now we realize we can't? Because I had thought that maybe they were trying to build up Gargano and Ciampa, but that Gargano's not back yet, and now Shinsuke Nakamura is apparently turning heel, and what the fuck am I missing?
No, I mean, like, just judging based on the TV that I've seen, I haven't gotten the hint that, oh, they're building towards some major tag team title match. In fact, outside of the idea that they're headlining a lot of the Raws because they're working opposite Judgment Day, Owens and Zayn have been kind of directionless since their match with Bloodline at Night of Champions. Would you agree with that, Calum?
As far as I've seen.
Yeah, like it's just sort of been, yeah, they're tag team champions and they're a big deal because they're them, but they're not actually doing anything. Like, it'd be fucking great if they fought DIY, but Johnny Gargano is nowhere to be seen. I know that Sean Ross Sapp tweeted in jest that, oh, WWE should rehire him and put him on Raw. And Sean also reported that Dexter Lumis is fine and he's just waiting creative. Indy's on main event. So it's like the whole way crew is there. They're just not really doing anything with them. It's really annoying to see. First, the rib injury, yeah, Sean says it's legitimate. Again, I don't know how much it would have fucked with SummerSlam plans because there's only one more show to go and they weren't building to anything in particular.
Which is so crazy to me that you can have these guys win the main event of WrestleMania and have this big pomp and circumstance surrounding all that. And then you've done nothing with the tag title situation since then because all you did was go, we got to limp on that Bloodline thing. Despite flat out having the characters say, we want to move on from this. You just got to milk it for an extra 2 months. And then you're like, well, I got nothing else to do. Maybe you fight Imperium a couple times. Maybe you fight Judgment Day a couple times. That sounds so wild to me that they would just do that. I guess it's a Vince thing. I don't know. But that's awful. And that sucks. And they deserve better than that. Judgment Day seems to be doing great.
They got the main event of Night of Champions. And they got to sit in the crowd for the main event of Money in the Bank. But yeah, outside of the Bloodline, like, they have nothing. And I don't understand why they're not at least trying to be more into the main event scene. Like, this rib injury might throw things off, but I can't imagine it would do so by too much.
Well, if they haven't done a whole lot to build towards something, kind of makes it seem like the rib injury wasn't throwing it all off because they didn't have anything in mind for them to do at SummerSlam anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing if I'm reading the reports correctly and all, if they would have had like a number one contenders match and Bronson Reed and The Miz won that, and then it's like, nah, we got to wait. We got to do a different thing instead. But it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like it's more so they've just been hanging around doing nothing. Oh, Owens is also out, so let's continue to have them do nothing.
It's weird because it's not an isolated incident with them because Rhea Ripley is a top star on the show and is everywhere all over the show like Owens and Zayn. But it's also, when you zoom out, you go, oh, she's not actually doing anything either.
Yeah, like who's she feuding with right now? Nobody, right?
She's not. I guess you can make the argument that she's feuding with Raquel and Liv, but they both appear to be hurt. And they also had a feud going with Sonya and Chelsea. And like, the women's situation is all over the place. Except for on SmackDown where they know exactly what they're doing. Like, it seems like very 50-50 where it's like Charlotte and Bianca and Asuka are presented as characters who know what they want and know what they're doing. And then Rhea's just like, yeah, but, isn't it funny that everybody in this building wants to bang me? It's basically the energy she's giving off with her every appearance now, which is fine, but it's like, I want to see her doing more bell to bell.
Kind of sounds more like maybe they should only have one championship. Maybe we shouldn't have a brand split. Maybe they should cut the amount of time.
Maybe you take the title that says Undisputed Champion and give it a meaning.
Yeah, maybe we don't need 5 hours worth of main roster television each week if you don't know how to book it. There's a lot of that discussion, but So Bronson Reed is now Big Bronson Reed, right? Or is he just Big Bronson?
No, he's Big Bronson Reed.
Okay, so they're not getting rid of the last name quite yet. And he's feuding with Tommaso Ciampa, and Shinsuke's involved, and this is all because of The Miz, and all because they're waiting on Gargano. Am I getting that right?
Probably, because if you remember, he was feuding with Shinsuke and Ricochet all throughout the build to Money in the Bank.
Yeah, so...
And then he continued feuding with Shinsuke, and then they brought back the whole thing where The Miz pays him off for things.
Yeah, because that was a means to get revenge on Ciampa for fucking up The Miz. And then Ricochet's just moved on because he's got the Logan Paul thing, so they're just like, all right, let's get him out of the mix. So we could be looking, I guess, at like Miz and Bronson Reed and Shinsuke down the line against Tommaso Ciampa, Gargano, and Dexter Lumis, maybe?
Nope, because Miz is nowhere near that story.
Miz is gone from it already.
It was just, no, because they keep telling the story of, no, he's not aligned with The Miz. He's paying him off. It's a one-time deal. He wants his money.
So he hasn't even been interacting with them since then?
Nope.
Jesus Christ.
Since then, he's hosted Miz TV with Becky Lynch, where he got intimidated by Becky Lynch, and that was about it.
Has Damian Priest, is he continuing to be in opposition of Finn Balor? What's going on with that?
Kind of. Like, they're really setting up that Seth Rollins might be fucked at SummerSlam. He's got Finn Balor again, but they keep setting up that Damian Priest could cash in at any moment. And they even had Rollins say, even if you manage to beat me at SummerSlam, it'll be shorter than your Universal reign because Damian Priest is just going to cash in on you. So they're really setting it up like, even though this really should be a blood feud and like some kind of gimmick match, they're just setting it up as, what will Damian do, if anything, at SummerSlam?
I got to tell you, that's one thing I have no interest in. I watched the top 10 breakdown of one of those episodes of Raw. And one of them was the sit down thing with Balor and Rollins, where Balor's like, he's like, I want another match, and Rollins is like, okay. I was like, fuck, that was a whole segment. That's it. That's all you do is go, okay, well, we're doing the match that we did at the last pay-per-view again.
Well, like, Rollins is trying to move on, and Balor won't let him because Balor is now obsessed with redeeming the thing from 7 years ago. I actually think, like, not to get too far into predictions, but I think there's a good chance Balor wins this one. They really like Judgment Day.
I guess we'll talk about that next week when we get into specific predictions about that, and I'll have watched another episode of Raw. In the meantime, it seems like I'm not missing anything between the Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar thing. It seems like they're just sort of cutting the same promos and fighting.
Literally 3 weeks of Cody will respond to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar will respond to Cody. Cody will respond to Brock Lesnar. What is he responding to? Nothing, because Brock Lesnar didn't say anything, but Cody will respond to the ass whooping he took from Brock Lesnar. Like,
and they still don't have a gimmick, right?
And they still don't have a gimmick. And they could just attach it last second. Nobody cares, right?
I mean, they have that one episode of Raw, so they could be like fighting in some like dog collar thing or something. It seems like if they would go more in the bull rope thing than a dog collar, but like maybe at the last episode of Raw, it ends up being like one of them's whipping the other one, and then it's gonna be a country whipping boy match or something. Drew McIntyre is basically just like, I'm gonna fight Gunther and that's it, right? Nothing else.
Yep, and Gunther. Well, no, they're teasing like a split of Imperium for some reason.
Fuck me already, really?
Yeah, because everybody's trying to be like, yeah, but this Ludwig Kaiser guy, he's fun, not like you, Gunther, you stick in the mud.
God, they have one story that they tell with every tag team. which is just put them together so we can tease splitting them up.
Yep.
God, I hate it. And as far as I'm aware, that there's just basically that going on, and then Becky Lynch is just stalling until the Trish match, which hasn't been confirmed yet, right?
I don't think it's been confirmed yet. But Ronda
she beat
and Shayna,
Zoe, so that was the whole, like, if she beats Zoe, she gets the match, right?
Right, but they haven't confirmed it for SummerSlam or a stipulation or anything. Ronda and Shayna have agreed to a fight.
Yeah.
They have not agreed to whether or not this fight will take place in a pit. They want to fight. And I think that's mostly it for Raw, outside of, like I mentioned, Chelsea and Sonya are champions, which is cool. Because, like, Sonya's been there long enough. She deserves to be champion. But yeah, I would say that's it from Raw.
On the Dynamite side, or the NXT side of things, well, we talked the NXT side of things. I don't think there's anything else to really go into from this past episode or not.
There's not any really good storylines or an Alex Sebastian. I missed that story.
On Dynamite, we had Orange Cassidy retain the International Championship over AR Fox. Another, solid title defense on his front, which ended up when he gave his glasses to AR Fox as a little, good job there, kid. Only for AR Fox to attack him afterward. And later on in the show, he joins the Mogul Embassy. I think it's a good move.
Yeah, solid move. There's history there. It's nice to see AR Fox getting a spotlight. I didn't think he would get so much of one, but it was cool to see. He pissed off Darby because Darby's like, I put my name out there for you and you just betray me like that. Good move, I think.
Yeah, it was one of the that's probably one of the better matches, even in this awesome reign that Cassidy's had. This probably was one of the overall better matches they've had. He's had probably in the top 5, if not top 10 defenses. I mean, I think it's up to 27 defenses now.
27 or 28, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And they told a nice story in the previous week's show of Darby asking Cassidy to put the title online against AR Fox and then they had a nice video package at the start of this show Darby explaining how AR Fox had trained him and given him a place to sleep while he was learning to become a wrestler, and how he kind of owes him a lot for even being in the business. And then kind of when the match was over and it seemed like AR Fox were just going to, celebrate with Cassidy and just taking the adulation of the crowd for a great match, he then, breaks the sunglasses and then attacks from behind. He almost has that look in his face of, oh my God, I actually just did that. And then Darby comes out and chastises him for being embarrassing that he put his neck out for him and he decided to do that instead. Didn't even mention that after that match as well, it wasn't just AR Fox that attacked Orange Cassidy. John Moxley came out and beat the shit out of Orange Cassidy as well.
Oh, yeah. Because the main event of Ring of Honor basically leads to Orange Cassidy's going to fight John Moxley. Which
it wasn't technically it wasn't the main event, it was the semi-main.
Oh, well, the world title match at Ring of Honor, thank you.
Yeah.
Basically leads to Orange Cassidy's going to fight John Moxley.
Yeah. And that potentially looks like that could be the all-in match.
Which makes, that whole tension of who it's going to beat Orange Cassidy for this title that we kept being it could be this one, it could be that one. We keep beating the same drum, but if it ends up being Moxley versus Cassidy there, I could definitely see John Moxley winning that championship.
I mean, I too could see the only 3-time AEW champion in history beating Orange Cassidy.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a portion of that. John Moxley popped up a little bit later on as well. He had this match with the old best friends and Lucha Bros. Anything you guys want to talk about when it comes to that front?
Yeah, I think it's a fun story. It's a lot of fun when you sit down and look at it. If I don't try to go, okay, but why? Why is it suddenly they're just man, fuck the best friends? All due respect with how they've been booked, BCC should run right through the Best Friends. You know? With how they've been booked, it feels weird that, like, next week, it's going to be Moxley, Penta, and Beretta in an Anything Goes three-way, and it's, like, fun, but I'm having a hard time figuring out what's next for us. Like, where are we going?
I think it's just like a fun triple threat match that will lead to Moxley getting attacked by Orange Cassidy, and then that sets up that match. Like, you only need one story coming out of that. You don't need the Best Friends, or I mean, the Lucha Bros are still doing stuff in Ring of Honor, and they're still doing stuff in. Well, now that they're separated from the tag titles, now they'll probably be doing more stuff in AEW with Pac back as well. Death Triangle still exists, so I think there's plenty of other stuff. There's time to do all those other things.
Well, in a hurry, Callum. The world's on fire.
I didn't bother to see the Pac and Gravity match. I was too busy doing a lot of other stuff at the time.
Forget? I mean, what happened there?
Oh, I mean, Pac forgets about Gravity, but
Gravity forgets about Pac.
I was, I mean, like I said, like we're trying to, renovate the kitchen and all.
You were unpacking and decided no packing for you.
I was making some pasta to mix with my leftovers of the previous night when we ordered because we were too tired to cook. I was doing that at the time, which, by the way, if anybody's curious, Iggy's, fucking great food in New York. We got the baked ziti, got the chicken parm, or got the eggplant parm, and we got the tortellini with vodka sauce and chicken. So good. But Pac and Gravity match, I didn't see. Gravity is somebody I haven't seen anything yet. He just popped up recently, so I haven't checked out any of his stuff. Is he good?
Yeah, he's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's like a good lucha guy.
He just flippy to beats.
Does good lucha things?
Yeah. He does great lucha things. I like him a lot, actually. I think he could be a very fun luchador. Him and Comandar and help me out here. Who am I missing? Vikingo. Like they're like the new version for me of Mysterio, Juventud, and Psychosis.
I'm sure you're not missing out Bandito in that list. He's the best out of all of them.
Well, yes, I want to see more of him. Actually, he's Gravity's brother.
Yeah.
And I hope that we get to see those Lucha Brothers against the other Lucha Brothers. And I like this. This is fun. Keep them flipping. I want to see more.
Keep them flipping.
Gravity in AEW.
Keep the flippy and the dippy and the.
I mean, it's good to have a couple of seconds going straight into the Pac and Gravity thing. So you had Tony Schiavone interviewing Jack Perry after he won the FTW Championship, and then that he was interrupted by Jerry Lynn of all people.
I like that he's using the classical music and he's got his hair tied back and all. I like that little like that he's not Jungle Boy anymore.
The classical music doesn't work for me. He's too dude bro for this. Like it feels like he should be coming out to some, like solid butt rock. Like get Nickelback to do a song. He looks like he would actively listen to Nickelback.
Nickelback's got some decent songs.
But yeah, so it seems like they're going to have a segment next week where they'll go face to face. It doesn't say it's a match. I presume it will end up in some kind of fight. And I also think that this could be leading into, or at least some people are speculating the idea that this is going to lead into some ECW crossover for a little while. Potentially getting some people like RVD involved, maybe, or the name that I've heard going around is Masato Tanaka because he's probably the only ECW guy that's still working to a really high level. So get him in and just have a match with Jack Perry. That'd be fun. But it'll probably end up just all culminating in eventually Taz is going to go face to face with him, and then Hook's going to come out and we'll have the rematch at some point.
Yeah, Hook's got to choke him out in New York, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Arthur Ashe.
Yeah.
When is Grand Slam? It's September, right?
The 20th.
Yeah. And then we also had there was a backstage interview between involving Don Callis and Chris Jericho, where Callis said that he'd arranged for a tag team match with Jericho teaming up with Takeshita against Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara. And Jericho decided to agree to do the match. And that led to a segment later on where he was confronted by basically the remaining members of the Jericho Appreciation Society, like Daddy Magic, Cool Hand Ange. Ty Mello was there, even though she's like 6-7 months pregnant now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good on her for making the travel. And Anna JS, and they all basically said, just chastised Jericho about not appreciating them as much as they appreciated him, and then walked out. So they're pretty much building up that tension between his old group and this new family that he might be joining.
So this has to end. And like, look, I've said this from the minute that Jericho started interacting with Don. This has to end with babyface Jericho, right?
Yeah, definitely. This will be babyface Jericho I'd say by pretty much even All Out. It'll be not All Out, but
All In.
definitely by All Out. But yeah, I'd say at All In, I think he's going to wrestle babyface against Will Ospreay if they do end up going with that match. So
it feels like the move.
Mm.
You know, it really does.
Yeah, I think it's time for him to move babyface. He's been heel for like a year and a bit now, and he always just try to mix it up every now and again.
And I realized yesterday, because I was talking to someone who really doesn't want to see Jericho be the guy to face Ospreay, and I was like, oh, they're probably going to be cheeky and be like, remember the last time a Canadian and a British person fought in Wembley? That's going to be their whole like build to the match, that it's going to be this, you know, legendary thing for Ospreay to step in there with Jericho. But you're going to get the Lion Heart, probably, since there's so much play on the younger days of Jericho. I like it. I'm going to be honest. I've liked everything Jericho's done for the most part in AEW, and I'm just glad he's competing at this level.
I always appreciate the fact that he's a guy that just doesn't sit still. Like, there's always a different twist or an angle on something that he's doing to just try and add a little bit of intrigue into it. And so this stuff with Callis is working well, and Callis is great, so that just adds to it.
Good enough that the security guard can tackle him and not realize that things are okay, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's been a week or so since then. So
Yeah.
I think he's fine now. They had back-to-back promo segments with Adam Cole and MJF, kind of promo on FTR, and then FTR kind of promo on Adam Cole and MJF, which I think they kind of played off as in they hadn't seen each other's promos, so it was just like them just talking at the camera and hadn't heard what the other person had said. But,
I loved MJF's whole like, I love my baby girl and all that. I love that was great.
Mocking Dax and saying he'll punch him so hard in the mouth that he'll cough up CM Punk's jockstrap.
That's very funny.
And and then Roddy came in and tried to get involved again. Max called him a default core.
That is a very funny line. I gotta be honest, this is one of the most intriguing stories in all of AEW to me right now, because this Saturday there's going to be a tag team title match, and there's a lot of parties here. Roderick's here, you know, Adam Cole could turn on MJF could turn on Adam Cole. Punk is going to be in the building. FTR is there. He wants to talk to Max about the world title situation. There's a lot of moving parts, and I like my wrestling when there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be a big move for that tag team title match. You've got a lot of intrigue going into it.
And Ty Valkyrie against Dr. Britt Baker.
Happened.
Also had gone down. That was the thing.
Happened. Made the internet very angry.
What were people upset about?
Because the match first of all sucked for a lot of it, and they've obviously come out swinging about that because, of course, it's bad if you criticize a wrestler for having a slightly bad match.
Right.
But
that must mean that you hate all women, right?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And well. Apparently, according to one fan in the audience in particular, it seems like Tony Khan hates all women because they decided for some reason, some producer who I wonder if might not be hanging around too much longer, but decided as soon as the match was over to pan for about 2 or 3 seconds onto one sign in the crowd right in the middle of the screen saying, "Book your women's division better."
Yeah.
So yeah, that got a lot of discourse going. I'm sure a lot of
A lot of normal discussion.
I'm sure a lot of podcasts appreciated that, so they could get their obligatory 20 minutes talking about how the women's division should be booked better in this promotion, and then just move on and forget about it because they don't actually care. But no, I think it's I think that's just like some people getting on their soapbox about it. Yeah, the women's division in AEW isn't being booked particularly well. I think you'd be hard pressed to find any promotion who's booking their women's division particularly well outside of Impact Wrestling. So yeah, I'm not trying to defend them. They definitely should be doing better, and there should be more stories associated with anything outside of what the Outcasts are doing. And it seems the Outcast stuff has been on hold since they're waiting for Jamie Hayter to come back from injury, and it, at least by reports, saying that she won't be back by the time All In's around.
With number Baker, Soraya literally liked a tweet that said, "The Outcasts aren't doing anything. What's the point of this storyline?" And it's really unfortunate because there's nothing for this division right now, and I don't want to beat the dead horse at this point of book it better, because honestly, that's not even the main issue at this point. It's like you need to completely restructure and just have some people that care enough, because guy versus guy equals match totally works when it's Claudio and Pac or somebody of that ilk. With the women's stories especially, you need the actual story. You need to get people going, oh my god, what's going to happen next week? Because that's the intrigue. You're not going to get a 5-star classic from putting just two random women, putting Soraya in there with Sky Blue. The intrigue is the stories. You have to care. It doesn't work the same as just booking dream matches for the men.
Or even just if you're approaching it from the same perspective as other sports. Plenty other sports, people will just watch a baseball game because it's a baseball game. It's pro wrestling. It's not basketball. It's not hockey. It's, But
I think people were slightly not seeing the bigger picture in terms of how lacking in depth the women's division currently is right now, due to, again, it feels like I'm just being defensive for the sake of being defensive, but there is that very real issue in the fact that there's probably about 8 active women that have been regularly featured on TV that are available to AEW right now. It's the 3 members of the Outcasts, Taya, Britt Baker, Sky Blue, Willow Nightingale. You've got Athena there, but she's primarily used on Ring of Honor. Anna Jay is there, but she's not exactly someone that you can rely on for great matches week to week.
Jade Cargill's missing, and
Jade Cargill's not there. Ty Mello's pregnant. Thunder Rosa's still out injured. You got Statlander. Statlander probably is one that should be doing more, but essentially you're going around the same 9 or 10 women, and you can't just constantly just keep putting them in the same matches with each other, because that's things are getting stale. That's probably the one thing that's hurt the Outcast story more than anything else, is the fact that they're constantly fighting the same 3 or 4 women. And yeah, they've got a match on Rampage between Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose, so maybe they can push towards getting Hikaru Shida more involved in things. But I think the likelihood is that with if Jamie Hayter is completely ruled out of All In, they're probably using this match and the match from the squash match they had on Blood and Guts to build up Britt Baker versus Toni Storm for the title.
Probably
the direction they'll go.
Yeah. Which, look, there's better options that have been out there. There's worse options that have been out there. It's just something that I'm not into.
And there haven't been many one-on-one matches, so
I haven't, I when I saw the preview for Shida versus Nyla Rose, I was like, I really treating this this is a big deal. Oh my god, 2 former champions again. And I'm like, man, I don't care.
The thing is, it would be a big deal if they didn't cycle through these women. At one point, Nyla versus Shida was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But you dropped Nyla completely, and you don't keep a lot of focus on Shida. I think it should still be a big deal. Look, you can make an argument as to whether or not Nyla is a fantastic worker. I really don't care. There's been plenty of times where, Big Show made a whole career out of not being a fantastic worker, but being in the mix of top stories. So did Kane. So did, to a certain extent, The Undertaker. Like, these characters should be utilized better, but with the women's division in particular, it's a lot of, oh, but we got the shiny new toy of insert new woman here, so never mind.
And for that matter, if anybody's wondering if this is just crapping on the AEW thing, I honestly don't really care that Charlotte Flair's fighting Asuka. I've seen it before enough times. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, like when Rob was talking about how SmackDown seems to have it together. It's like, well, they have it together because their story is Asuka has belt, Charlotte wants belt, Bianca also wants belt, and they have none of those characters have any depth or anything like that.
Well, what I meant by they have it together,
they at least seem to know what they're booking for the SummerSlam and all.
Oh yeah,
and specifically, I meant in character. Unlike Cody Rhodes, they're at least like, no, me want belt.
Yeah.
Like, but again, I don't want to do a huge debate about like just what women's stuff is going good and bad or whatever, because like I say, none of them are doing particularly well. Watch Stardom. Stardom does women's stuff well. That's what you want to do if you want to watch that stuff. But yeah, I think with Charlotte in particular, it's a case of what is her character if she's not fighting for a title?
Yeah. Well, then it's just I'm the queen. Yeah.
She's Triple H. She's
Triple H's reign of terror. If Triple H's reign of terror lasted for like 10 years,
lasted as long as people think it did. Yeah. I agree. No, I completely agree. I was specifically comparing them to Cody Rhodes, who hasn't said a fucking word about the championship since losing to Roman.
Yeah, the closest thing he did was when he walked up to Seth Rollins and went, and then he got his ass kicked. Yeah, which is like, that's not even the belt that you want.
Didn't
anyway.
He say one of those didn't he say one of those interviews he's in a press junket thing is that he never wants to fight Seth Rollins ever again?
Yeah.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure that was a quote that I saw out there. I don't know whether, again, I don't quote me on the actual source for it. I don't know when he said it, but I think I remember seeing a tweet out there with his quote saying, "Cody Rhodes, I don't ever want to wrestle Seth Rollins ever again." Which I think is fair because they've wrestled 3 times.
Have to. Like.
Oh yeah, but it just means that it's probably, well, as long as Seth is the champion, then I guess that he won't be going after that the substitute big gold belt.
Like, my thing with the AEW women, and yeah, you can apply it to many other divisions, I just want them to just start doing something of substance. Like, the Outcast thing was fun, but even still, try to get some other stories in there. I'm not asking for a lot. Ring of Honor spotlights several women per TV show, and they at least let you know that, hey, they're in contention.
So then SmackDown's the only other thing we have to talk about, right? Which is they've got the Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio thing happening tonight, which I would assume Escobar wins, because it makes more sense to me for them to go ahead and push him than to just like go right back down to Rey Mysterio. I'm curious where they're going with LA Knight though, because you gotta do something for LA Knight at SummerSlam, right?
Why?
Because he's fucking getting more response than anybody else, and you'd be ridiculous not to tap into that.
Who cares? I'm just I'm currently acting as a guy in the creative position in SmackDown.
It throws me off that he didn't win that Invitational, and that they're doing this like Mysterio versus Escobar thing. The only thing that makes any sense to me is if they want Escobar to beat Mysterio so that he seems like, okay, well, we're legitimizing him more so as like that, not number 2, but on equal footing kind of position. You know what I mean?
Well, he beat the champion last week, so probably should beat Rey and go on to face the champion again.
Now, I could see him winning the title too. Wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, I can as well.
Yeah.
Of course, we'll get into that when we talk more of the predictions and stuff. But as far as tonight, we're all going Escobar beating Mysterio, right?
I think so.
Oh yeah, I'd say that'd be my choice.
If you talk about like, oh man, you got to get people to tune into SmackDown. Karrion Kross is going to fight Carl Anderson.
I can't think of a match that I would. I mean, the only thing that I want to see less is Cross against the Gallows, but that's again, that's pretty low on the list.
Oof, man,
they need to cut their losses with that guy. He's not worth it at this point.
Which one?
Right. That's the thing. Anderson and Gallows are pretty worthless right now on the roster. Again, not to say that they're worthless people or that they're worthless wrestlers. They, of course, have value to them that they previously lost out on tapping into, but like they haven't done fuck all. And Karrion Kross has been how many months of this experiment since he's become back, and he's not done anything.
I'll say this: it hasn't been a year yet. Not that I'm saying, hey, once we hit that year mark, it'll be great. I like Kross and I like Carl Anderson. These iterations of these characters, I couldn't care less.
I really think that Kross definitely needs to just go. Like, it's not working. If they want to tweak the character, they have to actually tweak it. They can't just have him say TikTok and fight like, you know, one person every 3 weeks and like these random ass feuds.
I think it's time to go full Mark Mero with him and push Scarlett as the star.
Hell,
but even that, like, they kind of lost. I haven't seen, you know, because he's mostly doing backstage attacks that I see. So Scarlett's not getting a lot of airtime to just be out there. I think that's not a bad move to go full Mark Mero, you know?
One of the things that happened since I've been gone was Shotzi shaving her head to honor her, was it sister who is going through cancer right now?
Sister, yes.
So, obviously I didn't see the segment, so I don't know what that, I saw some criticism of people being like, oh, you know, she shouldn't have shaved her head. It's like, well, she's not doing it for your fucking benefit. She's doing it for a different reason. So sure. Why not? Try something also, a little bit different.
Like, I know, look, I actually think the look works for her. I think she can kind of rock like even more of a punk look if she does that, and they're doing something with her. I can't complain. They're doing something. So, like, cool, because Shotzi's been there forever and they weren't really doing much.
I mean, I can complain because it means that you'd have to see her wrestle, which
so far you haven't,
which I haven't enjoyed for the last 2 years or so.
So far you have not, though. So it's even on that front, it's pretty okay.
And then the big other thing is continuing to prepare for the trial combat thing, which I got a feeling, man, that I saved myself 2 hours worth of Jay. Oh man, you should be the tribal chief in the future, but not now. Oh well, fuck you for disrespecting me over and over and over and over and over. Right?
Well, were you there for the 45-minute, like the trial of Roman Reigns?
No, I didn't watch it.
40 minutes. That was a good, like, look, the segments are good. I think at this point, it's very cut and dry. We know where we're going. We're going to SummerSlam. There's been more physicality, like Paul Heyman ate a super kick. Solos even eating super kicks. At this point, they've got Jay completely like, I'm ready. This is it. I am not the person I was 3 years ago. I'm not even the person I was 2 months ago. I'm actually going to just beat your ass.
And this is just flat out no DQ match, right? There's no extra little special tweak to it or anything they said they were going to do for this week. Like, they're not going to like set the ground rules as far as like, well, I say that Solo can't be there. Okay. So it seemed like that was the case to me. And I was like, that sounds like a no DQ match that they just fucking threw the trial combat name into, and they're not even going to like put him in a fucking cage or something.
I kind of wish they would.
Some like ceremonial stuff attached to it. Like, there's probably going to be some unique weaponry that they introduce.
So I can just stick with a lei around it. That'll be the extent they put into this.
It'll be painted red, first of all. I hope that they throw out some unique rules or something, even if it's just like knockout or submission only. You know, just throw some wrinkle into it.
I hope it just means that Roman Reigns can fucking win straight up and that they don't have to have Solo Sikoa interfere to help him out. Or
No,
to do,
of course he's going to help out.
or to do the thing that I think is going to happen, which is for some fucking reason Jimmy Uso decides, nah, fuck it, I'm going to screw over Jay. But we'll talk about that next week. Even not watching it, that's already what I'm thinking. And if that's the case, then, you know.
I'll say this. It feels like the reverse Cody to me. Where it feels like they've built this one up, but it doesn't seem like there's any chance in hell. But at the same time, wouldn't be altogether shocked if they just pulled the trigger and it was like, there you go. It was a 3-year story where we made Jey Uso a single star. Shut up.
I would be extremely shocked. Well, that's all that I got written down. I think that we covered a lot of bases here. I don't know, maybe we're forgetting about something. Of course, if we are, drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell us what it is, and we'll try to backtrack and all. Maybe we'll adjust some of that stuff when we talk about the NXT Great American Bash stuff that's happening on Sunday. Of course, the post-pay-per-view content will be over there up on smarkoutmomo.com immediately following the pay-per-view, so check that out as soon as you can, of course, after the pay-per-view, but also check out the live coverage that'll be happening on the website and chat it up in the Mega Maniacs on Facebook and whatever else that you want to be a part of that whole situation. When it comes to the Fanboys Anonymous type of content, go to fanboysanonymous.com, see what's happening there. Of course, I've been a little bit on the backlog for some of those things, but hopefully getting around to some of that pretty soon. So many movies that I want to catch up on, and there's so many TV shows that I want to catch up on and all. Haven't been doing as much work on the Blueprint project because of me being away and all that, but I have been working a little bit on some Superman stuff, so I don't know, maybe I'll end up talking about some Superman stuff not that long from the future now, but go back and check out the Batman A Nighttime Story. Go check out the Absolute Power Rangers video that I put up about that. Callum, fill us in a little bit on the fantasy league. Is there anything that's going on that we have to adjust over these next things? Do I have another pick I need to switch up, or did I already do that? I don't remember.
You can switch. You've been able to switch another person between the whole last pay-per-view and SummerSlam. So if you want to do it, this is your last opportunity. Like this weekend is your last opportunity to do so.
I'm gonna have to think about that because I don't even remember who I have. I should go over to WWEFantasyLeague.com because that goes right over to the Fantasy League thing, and we can see the teams that are over there that we have going on for this current season. That points breakdown and all. I currently have on my roster Gunther, Bianca Belair, Carmelo Hayes, Kevin Owens, Grayson Waller, Roxanne Perez. Do I have Roxanne still? Or no, I got rid of her, I think, right?
No, you still have Roxanne.
Okay. No, I got rid of Ronda Rousey and Damian Priest.
No, you added Ronda Rousey and Damian Priest. The people that you've gotten rid of so far are you got rid of Rey Mysterio to replace him with LA Knight, and and the previous month you got rid of Liv Morgan to replace her with Shayna Baszler.
Okay, so I can get rid of one more person.
Yes. I'm
going to get rid of Ronda Rousey then. I'll just say that right now because I don't think she's going to be here, and I think she's probably going to lose at SummerSlam. So I at least can keep some of this stuff kind of going. Matt Riddle's been doing fuck all, man. Come on, Riddle. So who the hell do I pick Ronda Rousey's replacement for? In the meantime, toss out some plugs. I'll take a look at the roster and see if there's anybody that I can come up with.
You gonna go ahead, Rob? Your plugs? Usually go that order, don't we?
Yeah, we're all over the place here. Did we lose Rob? We lost Rob.
Oh, Rob disappeared. Oh, Rob gets no plugs then. Okay, then no.
Well, Rob's over there at Dude Felice all over the place.
Yeah.
So
I'll go with mine then. So you can follow me on Twitter or X at Weekmeister14.
Oh, that shit's so dumb. I hate that happened in the meantime too, by the way.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at Weekmeister14 and check out the Power Rankings every Saturday over on smarkoutmoment.com. So it's my weekly contribution where I rank the WWE superstars based on their prior week's performance. And then, of course, as we mentioned, go to wwefantasyleague.com or you can check it out through the Smark Out Moment navigation. You can find it there pretty easily. check out how our teams are doing, who's been picking up points. Every week goes by. As next week, SummerSlam happens and things change up a little bit. So, but yeah, see where we're standing, both leading into and then coming out of SummerSlam. Pay-per-views are always where the big points scored. Actually, like there'll be some big points scored at the Great American Bash as well, it seems, because obviously we've got some NXT guys, and that counts the premium live event. So there are going to be some bonus points going some certain people's ways based on that those results. So.
And that reminds me of somebody that I should pick. I am going to replace Ronda Rousey with Gable Steveson.
Not see that coming, but right ahead.
I was thinking potentially Logan Paul, and then I was like, Logan Paul might fuck off after SummerSlam, and then I might get screwed for those couple of weeks. Gable Steveson might be around for a little while.
Could get injured in that match. Who knows?
Could be. Could lose to Baron Corbin too. He's. I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the case, but yeah, I'm gonna bank a little bit on them, giving him that little immediate jump start push kind of thing.
So okay, that's been updated now. Well, I'll update it properly when I get through to it. But yeah, that is he'll be representing you going into. Well, you made that decision now. I will preface this that I will allow you to change your mind based on the fact that because Great American Bash is happening this week, and this week's already happened, he won't score any points this week.
Oh,
because it's the end of this week. I mean, I can always backdate it. I can get rid of Rousey. Only would have got 1 point, so Gable Steveson at the moment has 1 point. So I'll backdate it as if it would start this week. So you're fine.
Okay.
It hasn't changed anything. Rousey had scored 1 point this week. Gabe Steveson at present was scored 1 point. So not much has changed. He just has an opportunity to get extra points depending on how he does at Great American Bash.
Yeah, I'll sacrifice that one Ronda Rousey point for the potential of the Gable Steveson thing, which might end up being negatives for all I know. But yeah, what the hell? Why not? I don't have money on this. All right, well then.
I was surprised you didn't go with Tony D'Angelo because he's got a chance. He's probably going to win a title. But,
I totally forgot about that. That's why I didn't, or else I would have done that.
No take backs.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. I still, I'm hoping that I get the next round of predictions right, and that I can mess around with my team a little bit more. Now Tony D'Angelo needs to lose. Fuck you. No. All right, well, that's some Fantasy League stuff out of the way. That's some of the plug stuff out of the way, and there's the hot tags out of the way. Of course, NXT Great American Bash next time that you're going to be hearing from us. In the meantime, check out everything on smarkmo.com. Go to the link tree that you can find at amangotree.com and find all the different accounts that are over there. Follow me at Tony Mango on all the social medias, including X. Ugh. And we will see you next time, everybody. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.